Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're your hosts. Movie Club is the show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it just like a book club. On today's show, we're covering the action thriller No Country for Old Men. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 2007, No Country for Old Men was directed by Joel and Ethan Coen and stars Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, and Javier Bardem. Llewellyn Moss stumbles upon dead bodies, $2 million, and a horde of heroin in a Texas desert, but methodical killer Anton Chigurh comes looking for it with local sheriff Ed Tom Bell hot on his trail. The roles of prey and predator blur as the violent pursuit of money and justice collide. It is currently ranked 148 on IMDb's Top 250 and has a 4.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd and is ranked number 108 on its Top 250. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards for Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, Best Cinematography, and Best Film Editing. It won 4 for Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Javier Bardem, and Best Picture. Before we dive into our thoughts, though, we do want to issue a spoiler warning for the film. We will be talking about everything that happens in this movie, and more importantly with this one, what we think happens, because that's kind of something important to this movie. So if you don't want to know anything about the movie and you want to watch it for the first time, recommend you go out and watch it for yourself, then come back here. It's okay. You can pause the video. It's fine. But stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what we're covering next week, because it's going to start a little series of movies, genre-wise, that are all similar. So make sure you want to be there for it. Okay, Kevin. So, No Country for Old Men was my pick this week, and it's going to be pretty easy for why I picked it. This is one of those movies that I had never seen, that has always been very highly regarded, and I wanted to watch it. And so it was on the top 250 for both IMDb and Letterboxd, and so put it on here. Obviously, I think that it was one of those movies that I knew I was going to like it, but I didn't know how much I was going to like it. I think I said that last week for Blade Runner as well. Mm-hmm. But I walked out of this movie like thoroughly engaged and just really wowed when I walked out of it. Mm-hmm. But obviously this was your first time watching the film as well. Correct. So what were your first impressions walking out of it?
I was actually looking forward to it because it did win Best Picture, correct? Or nominated. It won Best Picture, so I knew we were going to get some good cinematography, some beautiful shots and everything, and I like those in a movie as well. And that's all I knew about it. So I came in with a blank slate, and that's why I like going to movies sometimes, because sometimes it can sway me a different way if I know what happens.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But after watching the movie, I do have a lot more critiques, I think, than you do. But we will go over those critiques because of how I viewed it as well. I wanted to let everybody know as well. I watched this on Pluto TV. It was on Amazon Video as well. So just make sure you can find it wherever you is. But as of 7/10/2024, it's on Pluto and Amazon. But do you want to get into critiques or see? Because I'll talk about positives first.
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead. So what do you got kind of as like your first positive here?
My positive is this movie is absolutely gorgeous. Like I couldn't tell, like, you know how they have for like the Mandalorian, they had that big dome thing. What is it called? And it makes it look like real. This felt like they were actually on set for like every single little thing.
I mean, they are.
I know, but you know how nowadays they're like,
nowadays you just put digital or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is how beautiful it can be if you just put people in a great setting. And the cinematography work is absolutely gorgeous in this movie as well. Yep. It gets all the tense situations of everything that happens, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but it's just a gorgeous movie.
Yeah, I think beginning to end it's so exceedingly well shot, and I think that what's really nice about it is that even the dialogue sequences, like the cinematography, you feel it, right? Whether it's like the gas station with Anton Chigurh, like sure, there's a lot going on in that sequence that lends to its tension, but the camera work is so static and it's just so like outside perspective. It's so well done, and I think that's just it's Roger Deakins is the cinematographer for this movie, one of the best modern cinematographers out there. You just watched 1917, same cinematographer.
Yeah,
Roger Deakins is a master at what he does.
mhm.
But yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Could not agree more.
What else? What's another positive maybe that you have for it? Because I think I have more negatives than positives. So
For me, I think one of the best parts of this movie is the tension. Like this movie, I felt like I was constantly on my seat the edge of my seat. Not. Of course, I was sitting down the entire time, but like I felt like I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
you moved from the bed to the floor to the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
That's how you went.
Yeah, I was standing like on handstand. No, but like I feel like from the very first moments of this movie establishes what it is going to be in terms of tone, and it doesn't relent until the very end. And I think that the first thing we see is Anton getting arrested, and then immediately he kills the guy.
Yeah.
And so it establishes tone so quickly, and like every sequence, like it's kind of hard to without diving into another positive, I guess. But like a large part of what makes the tension work in this movie is Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem is one of the best villains in movie history.
Totally agree.
Because there's a reason for that thematically, but like his performance is incredible. He is distant. Like he's probably this performance captures what I imagine mass shooters to be like.
Yeah.
Like like completely despondent. Nothing's a bother. Even when he gets shot, totally fine. Doesn't really flinch. I mean, he does flinch, but like he's not like he's just like
the
and
part
he just
that
does it.
I love too. It's during like the end of the movie, kind of, where the kid's like, "Sir, you have a bone sticking out of your arm," and he goes, "How much for the shirt?" He goes, "You have a bone sticking out of your arm," and it's like, he does have a bone sticking out, but he just doesn't care.
Yeah,
And that's and I agree with you. This was one of the, I want to say, most like cynical villains or eerie villains, because this could be a guy out in the streets like right now. Hopefully not, but
yeah,
it could be, because of how I don't want to call him unstable, but of how what he wants to get what he wants, and no matter what it is, he's gonna get it.
yeah. And what's really interesting though, and I guess I'll just kind of lean into the next thing, I guess, is that the movie's thematic kind of standing, like what it means, and kind of that sort of is what I'm getting at. Like, there I had kind of inklings throughout, but there's, in a manner of speaking, I don't think that Anton Chigurh is meant to be a real person. And let me explain what I mean by that. There are a couple people, I don't know who exactly. I was watching a couple videos on this today while I was on lunch. So shout out to YouTube people who've analyzed this movie. But I do agree with the theory, or kind of the idea, that Anton Chigurh is the humanization or the embodiment of human evil and violence.
Okay.
Now, what really lends into that is that obviously, Llewellyn does get in a shootout with him, all that kind of stuff. It does happen. But if you think about it, the entire movie has a very prominent Anton Chigurh shadow over everything. He knows where everyone is. He knows where people are going, almost supernatural, right? So it's this weird, pervasive thought or feeling that you have throughout the entire movie, that he just feels like his shadow is everywhere. He's got like a finger in everything almost.
Like someone's hovering behind you.
Yeah, it's like a ghost in the corner. It's there, but he's not. But so like when I say that he's like the embodiment of violence, if you think about it, what he does in some instances, like when he breaks into the hotel room and shoots the three guys,
Mhm.
Which, by the way, the shot of him putting the shotgun in the shower and closing the curtain, and you just see
Oh.
like the blood, fantastic.
Yeah.
But one man probably couldn't do that in real
No.
life. So, is that supposed to represent gang violence? The drug lords shooting at each other? Was he even really there? So it's an interesting kind of thought to think about. But also, if you think about it, the way later in the movie, one of the big things that I noticed is that a lot of people think that Josh Brolin's Llewellyn Moss is the main character.
I don't
He's
think
not.
that. I don't think that.
Tommy Lee Jones's sheriff is the main character.
Yeah.
Even though we don't see him a lot. And where the meaning comes in, and where the kind of the idea with Anton comes in, is he's constantly chasing Anton the entire movie. He's not chasing Llewellyn. Like, he's trying to help Llewellyn because something's happening. But it's not him chasing Anton. It's him chasing the evils that he is trying to protect society and his community from. And like we see that at the end of the movie, when he retires, he's finally able to see past it, right? But it's so well written, and I think that is the case. And like the idea and the very themes that it puts across is just, it's very, very powerful, however violent or nihilistic it may be, or or whatever. Because also, if you think about it, the name of the movie, No Country for Old Men, right? This is a country that is in the midst of change. This is post-Vietnam. It's 1980, I think, when the movie takes place.
Yeah.
And so, you've got an old sheriff who's now having to deal with all this violence and depravity and evil. It's no longer a country for him. And so that's where you get the title of the movie from, in my opinion, at least on first viewing. It could change after later viewings, which is just, it's so poetic. And I think that it's just really interesting. And my final thing on this kind of
You're good.
tirade I've gone, I'm taking time from Kevin, is this is a modern Western. This is like a Western movie. And like you could see this taking place in the 1800s with different actors in different locations. But the best Westerns, in my opinion, for the ones that I enjoy the most, whether it's films like Once Upon a Time in the West or whatever, or games like Red Dead Redemption, they deal with change, the times changing, the mindsets changing, the cowboy way of life going away and the modern world coming in. This is the same thing, but after Vietnam. And so you're seeing this time of change, and that's when you get the best Westerns. But also, it's fate. Fate doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care that you're, the wife of someone who has not really done anything wrong. But fate comes for us all, and that fate just happens to be Anton Chigurh. So I think that's why the movie really stands out to me, and that's kind of like my entire review in one little rant. But I'm very curious to see what you didn't really kind of get out of it, what you didn't like.
Yeah. So what I didn't really get out of it, I can see where you get that tension and that person always looking over your shoulder, because that's what I was doing. I was looking in the background to see if what is his name, Segura.
Anton Chigurh.
Chigurh was in the background of a shot, or how close is he to the hotel? Oh, he's coming up now on it.
You don't know where he is.
Yeah, and that tension was great. But I don't know if it was just me, but it lacked a gripping story to tell. Because when you were reading the synopsis, it was he found money and heroin. And then Segura's trying to kill him. In my mind, I go, when I was watching it, I go, oh, he found money. Okay, the cartel's coming after him. He found the heroin too. Okay, but why aren't they telling me that he's from a cartel or something? Why is it just a guy that shows up and knows where everything is? There was nothing, like, the tension was there, but there was nothing to maybe connect the two for me. And that's why it didn't show, like, when when well, we don't, do we know if they die? I forget.
Who?
Both of them. So Sugur, the villain, and the protagonist, not protagonist.
Sugar gets away.
Yeah,
But you're talking about Josh Brolin's character?
not the sheriff, the other one.
Yeah, Josh Brolin, the guy who steals the money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he dies.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah, it's his body in the hotel room when Tommy Lee Jones gets there.
Oh, that's
And that's
true.
when his wife shows up.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember. Okay, but it wasn't, when that happened. It wasn't like a, oh my gosh, like kind of like gasp for me or something. Not saying that I didn't care about it. Everybody dying you should care about. But it was just like, okay, that happened. Like kind of it didn't really pin the tail on the donkey for me. It didn't give me a good, not backstory, but a good tension story. There was tension in the camera work, but there wasn't tension in the story, I feel like.
Interesting. I would say that I disagree. I think that it's just, it maybe not when, Sugar is out by himself. I mean, even though there is, but like, the tension comes across like the shots where Josh Brolin's just in his hotel room, sawing off his shotgun and setting up for something he knows is coming. Like that is tension as well.
But
in the story, because it's the anticipation that something bad's going to happen.
But maybe like a dialogue tension, like him somehow knowing Sugur, or in his past life, because he ran into him, because it is a little town that he lives in, and sometimes the cartel maybe runs through there, and he saw his face and he kind of knows. There was nothing to put the two together to make me feel like I should care about. I'm gonna mess up, like I don't remember the guy's name, and I feel so, the L guy, I can't say his name. Llewellyn. Like I didn't really care for him, but I cared more for the killer and the sheriff than I did with him, even though he's kind of in almost a lot of the shots.
Sure, and I think that could be by design. Because in many ways, Llewellyn makes a lot of dumb decisions, right? He takes the money and he tries to escape with it, and by doing that, puts everything into motion. And so, for some people, they may see that and go, "Why the hell would you do that?" And then maybe it may lose some care. But I think that, if you want to go the more metaphorical route, he does what a lot of us would do. I'd take the money. $2 million is a lot of money. Yeah. I'd probably end up dying because Anton Chigurh would come in through the window or something. But it's a very human, I think, reaction and response to that situation. And also, it's Texas. He's going to take the guns. He's going to,
Yep.
But, I think where you were talking about the cartels and stuff, like Chigurh doesn't work for the cartels. As far as I can tell, he works for that third party that is interested in that deal. That's up in the office building, and they were either probably the ones that were receiving money for the drugs, or they were giving the money to the cartel in exchange for the drugs.
Okay,
but they were the business party.
Okay. Yeah. It's clicking. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, and then because remember when Chigurh goes up to the office and kills the guy, it's because he sent other people out there too, instead of just trusting Chigurh to do it. Which that's probably the only scene, not that one, but the one where Woody Harrelson is talking to the guy up there about how he knows Chigurh, and he's like, oh, he's a sociopath. Like that kind of, I don't want to say it undoes the theory that Chigurh is kind of like a manifestation of human evil. It's definitely a representation of it. But I think that could, for some people, dismantle that theory a little bit. But I don't know. It's one of those things. I guess I just, maybe the way I watched it, I just did not. I mean, I can see what you're saying, but I wouldn't say that I necessarily agree.
And maybe because I haven't watched maybe too many westerns, or something like
Sure.
that.
This is
that
one of those
it
movies that's not
could
overtly a Western though, and so it's kind of
Mhm.
subtle.
Yeah, it's a subtle Western, but it's still it I felt like it wanted to be an action movie, but didn't want it to be too actiony, but it wanted to be more suspense in the movie. And that's what I got. I got a lot more suspense than action. And then there was a situation in the movie that this happens, and it kind of goes like kind of all to plan, I guess. Like not like I could figure out kind of the next step of what was happening
Mhm.
during the whole thing. Um, and I guess I don't know. I wish there was maybe because of what it's an hour and like I mean
It's
two
about
hour
two
and like a
hours.
minute movie. Maybe give me like 15 minutes of more dialogue between the two. Like I know when he talks on the phone to him that you get kind of like an interaction there, but a little bit more of that maybe I would have liked it a little bit better to add to more to the story in some way.
Sure. Again, I'm gonna have to disagree because I think its actions speak louder than words in this particular
Okay.
instance for me. And I'm not
hmm
saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying
No,
that
no, 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 no,
I
no.
don't agree. Very important for everyone out there. I'm not saying that Kevin's wrong. Kevin's not saying I'm
Okay.
wrong. We can disagree. It's totally fine to do.
I have something in mind. So you know
Sure.
how last week we talked about Blade Runner, you having the narration and me not having the narration, because of the final cut and director cut. I think I would have enjoyed a narration during this movie sometimes.
Sure. I mean, we do get an awesome narration in the beginning from Tommy Lee Jones, but that's about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, but maybe throughout the whole movie, maybe get a mindset when he's sawing off the shotgun to give like a little plan when he's in the hotel, and then he gets the other hotel room, everything like that. It kind of just falls in his way, but sometimes a little narration for me, this is just my opinion, would help me a little bit more to enjoy the movie because
Sure.
instead of him just sitting there waiting, and I know that's tension buildup, totally understand, but have in his head like, did did my wife get away with the money? Did they get on that bus or that plane wherever they were going? And then it goes to the wife who got not swiped, but like got caught by the cartel people or whoever was working he was working for at the
Mm,
airport. Like little for me, little narration might have made this a lot better movie
sure. Um, but I think,
in the right places, I should say, in the right
yeah,
places.
absolutely. Maybe from Tommy Lee Jones specifically, because I think that,
Yeah.
as the kind of voice that he is, I think that would work. I'm not necessarily
hmm
saying that it would work for me, but I think
hmm
like in that situation, I think he's the voice that would fit it the best.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, like the one thing that really kind of clicked as we were sitting here talking with me though
Hmm.
is more so like we have three main characters,
Yeah.
and I think representative of different things. You have Anton Chigurh, who is representative, maybe
Pure
not
evil.
physically, but like metaphorically, as human evil.
hmm
You have Llewellyn, who is the representative of human behavior, human emotion, like human intelligence, whatever you can do, but like the personality of humans. And then you have Tom Bell, or the sheriff, who is the embodiment of human good and justice.
hmm
And in this changing world in the 1980s, post Vietnam, by saying it's no country for old men anymore, we're saying that it's no longer a country for the good.
Okay. Yeah, I
That
can see
just
that.
clicked inside my head as we were sitting here, which is why I love talking about
hmm
movies so
Well,
damn much. And
yeah.
actually, that makes me like it even more now. like, like my
hmm
score might go up a point. I don't know. Like,
hmm
but
I
I mean,
can see
that's
where you're going with that though, because these are all older gentlemen who
yeah,
have been through a lot of things and now are kind of I don't want to say towards the end of their life, but in this movie they are kind of towards the end of their life. And they don't really know what to do with themselves, if that makes any
yeah.
sense, because they don't
Especially
know
Tommy
where to
Lee
go
Jones at
from
the
here.
end. Yeah,
Yeah. You know what I loved at that end part was the wife and him are sitting down at the table. Hey, I retired. Yeah. I had a dream. And he goes, you can have dreams now. What do you want it to be about? And he goes, I don't know. And it's like, that's so true, because you're like, you're retired. You don't really have to think about anything anymore. You can dream about dreams, but what would your dreams be if you have nothing to think about? And
Yeah.
I was like, I watched, I rewound it because I was like, that's such a true statement.
Yeah. It's real good.
Hmm.
And I think there are a lot of people who are kind of upset by the ending of this movie.
I didn't mind it.
Where obviously Josh Brolin dies, Anton Chigurh kills his wife and gets away, and
Hmm.
then the sheriff finds the crime scene and just retires. I think it's perfectly fine, and I think that also I do want to point out the sequence when the sheriff goes back to the hotel
Hmm.
and the camera makes it look like Chigurh is in there waiting for him,
Hmm.
and then he's not actually there. Goes a
It's
long way
great.
to him being some sort of supernatural thing, but also good tension.
Yeah.
Which makes me I really want to read the book now.
Uh-huh.
Because
Oh, I didn't know this was a book.
yeah, it's based on a book, actually one of my favorite authors, Cormac McCarthy,
Mm.
who did one of my favorite books of all time, The Road, which is also a movie, not on any top 250s, but it's a very good movie. And also did Blood Meridian, which is one of those books that people share on TikTok and YouTube. Oh, it's the most disturbing book of all time. Like, he writes disturbing shit that's also just very metaphorical and very representative of other things. And so I
Mhm.
really want to read the book to see if it's more overt or if it's more subdued. So,
And you know what? I'm glad we had like these, I don't want to say like different ended uh projections of this movie, like the I'm so low and you're so high up on this movie, because some people can just be right in the middle and just be like it's an okay movie. But us breaking it down like this, I might go back, like say if my mom wants to watch this movie, and I'll be like, oh, I get to watch it again, and let's see what you're saying about this movie, and
yeah.
let's see if I can change my, not change, but see what I can feel different about it, and how your review le- afterwards be like, yeah, he was totally right on this, and the first time watching this I didn't get that out of it.
Yeah. Or even then, it could reinforce how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll watch it again and be like, you know what? I don't really see it. I just kind of see a movie that's kind of pretentious. It's got some good action and tension in it, but I just don't really see it. It's very
Mm-hmm.
possible, and I think that like having these kinds of videos where we are on the opposite end, not opposite end, because I mean you're not saying
Not
it's a
too
terrible movie,
opposite. Not
but
too
like
opposite.
like one less positive and one more positive, I think is in some regards is better, because I think there are people who are going to watch this that are, like you said, are in the middle, or they're on more of your side or more on my side, and they can kind of hear what the other has to say. Hopefully that doesn't lead to any fighting in the comments section.
Well, and I feel like with my not good review, some people will be like, yeah, I understand where he's coming from, and I also feel this way. But then you're like, man, this is a great movie, and some people are gonna be like, yeah, this was a great movie in this aspect, but I can see where the lower score person came from while listening to what he had to say.
Okay, we've been going on for pretty long, so we should probably wrap this up. Since this was a movie that I picked this week, I'll go ahead and give my final thoughts and score first. I'll be honest, No Country for Old Men was one of those movies that I knew I was going to like. As I said, I didn't know how much I was going to love it. I am upset that it took me this long to watch it. I think it's a damn near perfect film and a peak example of what a modern Western can be, especially when it's representative of the things that I feel that it is representative of. Absolutely incredible performances, great tension, good action sequences as well. And again, we forgot to mention it, but the lack of music in this movie makes it even more tense sometimes.
Hmm.
But I really enjoyed this movie. I actually, as soon as I was done watching it, I had it on Amazon and it's in my wall now. I watched the movie last night, so that should say something. So I ended up giving the movie a 98 out of 100. That is a 4.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd for me. I might go back and change it to a 99. I don't know. I was really going back and forth on a 98 and 99 for this one. I don't think it's a 100, but I think maybe if I watch it again, maybe 2 more times, it could be 100. I don't know. But Kevin, what'd you think?
Um, uh, I got a different little Memo because of what we were talking about. The eeriness, eeriness vibe, the cinematography, the shots were absolutely gorgeous in this movie. But that's all I really got. Didn't really care too much about the characters. Maybe needed a little bit more of a story, tension story as well. And I wish it just would have grabbed me a little bit more. Like the tension grabbed me a lot, but the story didn't pull me in more, which I was disappointed about. And it does deserve the Oscar for best picture because was absolutely gorgeous. But I give it 3 stars out of 5, and it was a 65 out of 100 on mine. But that could be subject to change.
So what do you think about that? So the question now falls to you. What did you think of No Country for Old Men? Go ahead and leave those comments down in the comment section down below. But remember, be respectful of one another, because one of you may be Anton Chigurh and telling people not to come to school tomorrow. But next week, we'll be covering the crime drama Casino, which is going to start 3 straight movies of mafia. You can probably pick up on what's going to be after Casino by saying that. But make sure to watch Casino before we cover it next week so you aren't spoiled. But again, thank you so much for watching. We do have our live stream that goes live every single Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and this show, which goes live every Friday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you have it just in time for your morning commute, walk, jog, whatever you do to get where you're going. You'll be able to listen to us talk about movies, which is all we like to do. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time, make sure to keep those eyes on the screen.